The Lord be with you, and also with you. May God's blessing be upon us and upon St. Andrew's School. Welcome to this sacred time. Let us open our hearts and minds.
So you get literally plucked out of this life.
Totally.
And put on the trains. Yeah. And you're on the trains for how long? Stacked like cattle against each other.
A long time. And that's when my mom hugged me. And she said, we don't know where we're going. Just remember, no one can take away from you what you put here in your own mind.
Once you get there, there's this moment. I had the privilege of visiting Auschwitz
with Elie Wiesel.
And in that moment, when you walk through the gates, that you move to the left and you move to the right.
Yeah.
And as you're in line at the gate, the infamous Dr. Mengele, the angel of death doctor, was standing there. And tell us what happened.
Well, my mom was in the middle, and my sister Magda on one side, and I on the other side. And then he asked, is this your mother, or is this your sister? And I could never, ever forgive myself that I said, it's my mother. So he pointed my mother to go to the left. And I followed my mom. And then he grabbed me and looked me in the eyes. I never forget those eyes. And he said in German, I spoke German fluently, that I'm going to see my mother very soon. She's just going to take a shower, and promptly threw me on the other side, which meant life.
Life.
So you think that my life was in Dr. Mengele's hand? I think God had a plan for me to be here with you today.
Absolutely.
I was in Auschwitz maybe a few days. And when I came in, I accepted the reality what Auschwitz was and what it did, and accepted all the daily routines, what it was, and even started to eat the food and realized that all of us, with the 5 of us who were standing in a line, we will do everything possible to see that we survive. It wasn't up to us. It surely wasn't. After a few days we was there was somebody came in from outside from Barrack 10, where we were, and said, there's someone outside who wants to see the Honig girls. Well, my maiden name is Honig, and I was there with my sister. So we go down, and there I see my father. He stood there in his striped pajama things. He looks at us, and he said, when this madness ends, we will meet again.
Not so long ago, millions of people were convinced or coerced to help systematically murder 6 million innocent men, women, and children. How could this happen? How could so many people turn so bad? These are profound questions. There are no easy answers. But we do know that many methods that enabled this unprecedented mass genocide, known as the Holocaust, are being practiced today. To understand this, let's take a step back. In 1914 through 1918, the war to end all wars was fought. In this Great War, now known as World War I, Germany was defeated. Thereafter, the country struggled to pay reparations, overcome the ramifications of the Great Depression, high unemployment, and political instability. In this turbulent period, the Nazi Party and its leader, Adolf Hitler, rose to power by promoting extreme nationalism and fanning the flames of hatred, particularly against a German minority population, the Jews. Many German people enthusiastically embraced this message of hate and the promise of a renewed, powerful country. In the 1932 elections, the Nazi Party became the largest group in the German parliament, and through a negotiated political deal, Adolf Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany in 1933. Through a combination of oppressive laws and by practicing domestic terrorism, the Nazis were able to solidify their power. During this period, political opponents were jailed, the press was stifled, and Jews were vilified and humiliated. In 1938, on a night called Kristallnacht, 267 synagogues and more than 7,000 Jewish businesses and homes were looted or destroyed. 30,000 Jewish men were arrested, and more than 100 Jews were murdered. While this was not an era of social media, it was an era of fake news and aggressive propaganda. The Nazis deployed cutting-edge marketing and communication techniques. They were masterful in branding their form of hatred, using film as it had never been used before, posting aggressive, targeted messages, characterizing Jews as demons and monsters. With a population primed to hate, things got worse. Jews and other individuals deemed unworthy of life by the Nazis were confined to ghettos and then carted on sealed freight trains across German-occupied Europe to extermination camps. Families were separated. The old and sick were generally the first to die. Younger and stronger people were thrust into forced labor. People were starved to death in the freezing temperatures, or died from disease, or were murdered in mass in gas chambers. The death camps accounted for approximately half of the 6 million Jews that were killed. Other Jews were slaughtered in mass executions, random shootings, on the streets, in their homes, in synagogues, ghettos, and more. In total, 1/3 of the world's Jewish population and 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population were slaughtered. In addition, the Nazis also murdered millions of other enemies and people they deemed undesirable, including Poles, the Roma, the incurably sick, Soviet POWs, political opponents, and gay men. In the end, millions of Germans, as well as individuals from other countries, were ultimately responsible for the largest genocide in human history. So how did this happen? The demonization of a minority population, false propaganda, domestic terrorism, the acceptance of hate speech, and the co-opting of the press are all hugely impactful. The Nazis proved that seemingly normal people can be convinced and coerced to commit the worst atrocities imaginable.
Now, a remarkable story of two men who lived life to the fullest by playing music. It comes to us from the New York Times video series, Opdocs.
My name is Saul Dreier, and I'm playing the drums.
My name is Ruben Ruby Sosnowitz, and I'm a keyboard player and an accordion player.
The name of our band is Holocaust Survivor Band.
Holocaust Survivor Band.
I called Ruby and I said, Ruby, I've got an idea. My wife says, you're crazy. My rabbi, Sal, you're too old for it. What do you need it for? I says, I got an orchestra.
We're the real Holocaust Survivor Band, and we know what to play for everybody.
I didn't believe that I'm going to be 89 years old and come out from retirement and playing drums with orchestra. It's true. Somebody up there told me what to do.
That's right, and that makes him alive.
We never mess up because I cover my troubles and he covers his troubles.
He should watch what I'm doing and will be okay.
I don't follow him. I make believe that I follow him. You don't have to be a musician. You have to use a little oil in your head. I am more attractive because with my age. He's more attractive because of his looks.
I didn't know that I'm attractive, but sometimes they ask me if I'm married. They like the oldest, everything from the oldest, because they remember the time.
They were children.
Yeah.
My numbers was 84650 with a triangle. I was in camp with a very famous cantor singer. We were laying on our bed and he started to sing and we didn't have no instruments, so everybody was doing something else. We had spoons, so I spoon, I used to use a wood. He was singing, I used to clap, like a drummer.
We didn't have nothing to eat, but when we heard music, it made us alive.
Hava, nagila hava, nagila hava, nagila resmahov.
And that made me to play music.
The melody sounds like I'm living in my old life before the Holocaust. That's it. Goodbye. Let's get up.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May God make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God give you the grace not to sell yourself short, grace to risk great things for things that are even greater. Grace to realize the world is a dangerous place that must be confronted in truth, but it's also a very fragile place that must be held in love. May God take you and use you as an instrument of grace, love, and peace this day and always. Amen.